It all started innocently enough, a simple birthday party for my daughter-in-law, Bethany, but things got weird fast. I walked in expecting hugs, but suddenly felt like I was wearing an apron, not my best dress. My own son, Michael, just stood there, letting it happen, and then I realized something big had shifted, forever. Before we continue, tell me in the comments, where are you watching from? I'd love to know. I remember that day like it was yesterday, clear as the bright blue sky outside my kitchen window. It was a Saturday morning, sunny and crisp, the kind of day that just promises good things. I was stirring my coffee, enjoying the quiet before heading over to Michael and Bethany's for her birthday lunch. My son, Michael, he's a good boy, always has been, but sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle, you know? Especially with Bethany. She's got a strong personality, always in charge, and sometimes that steamrolls right over poor Michael. And me, I guess. I had picked out a lovely gift for her, a delicate silver necklace, because I truly wanted her to feel special. We hadn't always seen eye to eye, no, but it was family and birthdays. Well, they're supposed to be happy, aren't they? I smoothed down my new floral blouse, feeling a little flutter of hope. Maybe today would be different. Maybe we could all just get along, laugh a little, pretend for an afternoon that everything was just fine. I grabbed my car keys, checked my lipstick in the hall mirror, and took a deep breath. When I arrived, the apartment was already buzzing, not with laughter, but with a kind of tense energy. Bethany was darting around, her blonde hair pulled back tight, her voice a little sharper than usual as she directed Michael and a couple of other guests. "Michael, those plates aren't straight," she snapped, pointing at a stack on the counter. He just sort of hunched his shoulders and mumbled, "Sorry, honey." I walked in, my gift bag rustling, ready with a cheerful, "Happy birthday, Bethany. Looks like quite the party already." Bethany spun around, her eyes wide, but the smile she gave me was, well, it didn't quite reach her eyes. "Oh, Elsie. You're here," she said, but it sounded more like a realization than a greeting. She glanced at the gift in my hand, then back to the counter. "Great, you're just in time. Could you help me with the food? The caterers just dropped everything and ran, and I'm swamped." My eyebrows nearly flew off my face. Caterers? She never mentioned caterers. And help with the food? I was a guest, her mother-in-law, coming to celebrate her day. I felt a prickle of annoyance, but I tried to push it down. "Of course, dear," I said, my voice perhaps a little tighter than I intended. "Where should I put this lovely gift first?" I held up the bag slightly, hoping she'd notice. She barely looked. "Oh, just anywhere really. The kitchen counter is fine. We'll open gifts later. Right now, I need these platters arranged. And the drinks. Could you make sure the ice buckets are full? And maybe get the appetizers passed around? People are getting hungry." She gestured vaguely towards a table laden with trays of food, none of which I recognized as anything Bethany would have cooked. It really did look like catering. I stood there, the silver necklace still clutched in my hand, feeling like my floral blouse had suddenly turned into a uniform. Like I was being told what to do, not asked nicely. Michael, who had been watching us, finally stepped forward. "Mom, you look nice," he offered, a small, apologetic smile on his face. He reached for my gift bag. "Let me take that for you." "Thank you, Michael," I said, a little too loudly, handing it over. I watched him set it carefully on a small side table, away from the pile of other gifts. It felt like a small victory. But then Bethany was back, her voice cutting through the small moment. "Elsie, did you hear me? The mini quiches need to go out now. And please, don't mingle too much. We need all hands on deck until dinner is served." "Don't mingle too much," my jaw almost dropped. I looked around the room. There were maybe 10 people there, mostly Bethany's friends and some family I didn't recognize. They were all chatting, holding drinks, laughing. No one else seemed to be on deck like I was being told to be. No one else was being told not to mingle. I felt my cheeks grow warm, a slow burn of humiliation spreading through me. This wasn't a request, it was an order. A public dismissal of my role as a guest, as family. I was being treated like, well, like staff. I took a deep breath, trying to calm myself. My hands were starting to shake a little. "Bethany," I began, trying to keep my voice even. I came here to celebrate your birthday, not to work it. Where's the person who's supposed to be doing all this? I waved a hand at the spread. She put her hands on her hips, her expression hardening. Elsie, don't be dramatic. Everyone helps out. This is a party, not a formal dinner. And the catering staff left, like I said. This is just how it is. She looked at me, a challenge in her eyes. Are you going to help, or are you just going to stand there? My son, Michael, still stood a few feet away, watching us, his face a picture of discomfort. He didn't say a word. He didn't defend me. He didn't even try to defuse the situation. That's when something inside me just snapped. It wasn't just about the quiches or the ice. It was about respect. It was about him, my own son, allowing his wife to treat me like this. It was about years of small slights, brushed off, ignored, now adding up into one huge, undeniable insult. You know what, Bethany? I said, my voice surprisingly calm despite the storm brewing inside me. I looked at her, then at Michael, who quickly looked away. I think I've had enough helping out for one day. And enough birthday party. I turned to the door, grabbed my purse from the hook by the entryway. Happy birthday. I hope you enjoy your party, such as it is. And I walked out. The door clicked shut behind me, not a slam, just a soft, final sound. The silence in the hallway felt like a huge exhale. I could almost feel the eyes on my back, but I didn't look back. I just kept walking, my floral blouse feeling like a badge of defiance now. My car felt like a sanctuary. I drove away, my hands gripping the steering wheel, the sun still shining, but everything felt cold. The drive home was a blur of hurt and a slow, simmering anger. My hands were still trembling when I finally pulled into my driveway. I walked inside, the silence of my own home a stark contrast to the earlier tension. I felt a wave of exhaustion wash over me. I wasn't just tired, I was deeply, profoundly disappointed. I sank onto my sofa, kicking off my shoes, and just stared at the wall. Michael. My son. He hadn't said a word. Not one. That hurt more than anything Bethany had said or done. It was the silence from him, the quiet betrayal, that stung the most. The afternoon passed in a haze. I tried to read, to watch TV, but my mind kept replaying the scene in Bethany's kitchen. The way she had looked at me, the casual dismissal, the expectation in her eyes. It was clear she saw me as nothing more than an extra set of hands, someone to be ordered around. And Michael, letting it happen. Allowing his mother to be disrespected in his own home. It was unthinkable. Then my phone started ringing. It was Michael. I looked at the screen, watched his name flash, and let it go to voicemail. I wasn't ready to talk. Not yet. Not while the sting of his inaction was still so fresh. A minute later, it rang again. And again. And again. He was persistent, I'll give him that. After the fifth call, a text message popped up. Mom, please call me. We need to talk. I just stared at it, then put my phone face down on the cushion beside me. The calls kept coming. Every few minutes, a buzz, a vibration, a brief gingle. Michael. Over and over. Each ring felt like an echo of his earlier silence, ironic in its intensity. Hours later, as dusk began to fall, I finally picked up my phone. I scrolled through the call log. Michael, 55 missed calls. 55. My goodness. He really had been trying to reach me. There were also a few texts. Mom, what happened? Bethany is upset. You left in the middle of her party. She says you made a scene. I made a scene? After all that, I was the one who made a scene? A bitter laugh escaped me. The audacity. I typed out a short, blunt message. Michael, I'm not upset. I just realized I'd overstayed my welcome. I'm fine. Don't worry. I sent it, then turned off my phone. I didn't want a long conversation, not then. I needed time. Time to process, time to decide what to do next. This wasn't just a spat. It felt like a crossroads. My relationship with my son and with Bethany had reached a breaking point. Something had to change. The next few days were quiet. My phone remained off. I went about my routine, watered my plants, went to the grocery store, chatted with my neighbors, Helen and Arthur, about their new rose bushes. But underneath it all, a quiet resolve was forming. I wasn't going to let this go. I wasn't going to let them walk all over me anymore. I had always been there for Michael, always helped him, always supported him. And for Bethany, I had tried. I had really, truly tried to make her feel like part of the family, even when she made it difficult. But this was too much. A week later, I turned my phone back on. A flood of messages and voicemails came in. Mostly from Michael, some from Bethany. Michael's messages were frantic, pleading. "Mom, please, we need you. Bethany is really mad. Why won't you answer? This isn't fair. Bethany says you owe her an apology." An apology. That one made me chuckle. Bethany's messages were colder, more demanding. "Elsie, you behaved terribly. We expect an apology. You embarrassed us. This is unacceptable behavior for a mother-in-law." There wasn't a single word of apology, no acknowledgement of how they had treated me. Not one. It was all about how I had wronged them. I called Michael back. My voice was calm, almost detached. "Michael," I said, when he finally answered, his voice a rush of relief and agitation. "What do you want?" "Mom." "Finally. Where have you been? Are you okay? Bethany is furious with you, you know. You just walked out of her party." "Yes, Michael, I did walk out," I replied. "Because I was treated like hired help, not your mother. And you, your own mother, Michael. You just stood there and let it happen." My voice hardened a little. There was a pause on the other end, a shuffling sound. "Mom, come on. It wasn't like that. Bethany was just stressed. You know how she gets. She didn't mean anything by it." "Oh, she meant it, Michael. She meant every word. And you standing there, saying nothing, that spoke volumes too." I took a deep breath. "I'm not apologizing, Michael. Not for walking away from disrespect. But Mom, you don't understand. Things are hard right now. We need you. Bethany is threatening to." He trailed off, his voice filled with desperation. "Please, just come over. Talk to her." "No, Michael," I said firmly. "I won't. Until you both understand what happened that day, until you can acknowledge it, I won't be coming over. And I certainly won't be apologizing for standing up for myself." He started to argue, to plead, but I could hear Bethany's voice in the background, sharp and demanding. "Who is it? Is it her? Tell her to apologize, Michael." "I have to go, Michael," I said, a wave of sadness washing over me. He sounded so young, so lost. "Call me when you're ready to actually talk, not just demand." I hung up before he could respond. The phone felt heavy in my hand. It was hard, saying no to my son, but I knew I had to. For my own dignity and maybe, just maybe, for his to finally understand. A few more days passed in silence. No calls. No texts. They must have been furious. I imagined Bethany fuming, Michael caught in the middle, probably trying to soothe her. But I held firm. My decision felt right, like a weight had been lifted. I was tired of being taken for granted. Tired of being the quiet, accommodating mother-in-law. I was Elsie, and I deserved respect. I spent my days thinking, planning, trying to figure out what was next, because I knew this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The weeks that followed were strange. Eerily quiet at first. Then, bits and pieces of news started filtering through, mostly from Helen, my neighbor, who happened to know someone in Michael's building. "Did you hear about Michael and Bethany, Elsie?" she'd say over the fence, her voice lowered conspiratorially. "I heard their landlord is getting quite strict about rent lately. You know, with all the new rules and everything." I would just make a non-committal sound, pretending not to be too interested. But inside, my stomach would clench. I knew Michael and Bethany had always struggled a bit financially, especially with Bethany's insistence on a certain lifestyle she couldn't quite afford. Her catered birthday party now made more sense. They were probably already in over their heads. Then came the calls again, but these were different. They weren't angry demands anymore. They were desperate. Michael's voice on the voicemail was strained, almost hoarse. "Mom, please, we really need to talk. It's important. It's about the apartment." Bethany also left a message, surprisingly devoid of her usual sharp tone. It was flat, worried. "Elsie, things are really bad. We need your help. Please." I listened to them, feeling a cold knot in my stomach. I knew what this meant. I let them stew for another day, then I called Michael back. Michael, I said, when he answered on the first ring, his voice exploding with relief. What's going on? Mom, thank God you called. It's the apartment. The landlord, he's raised the rent, and we haven't been able to pay the last 2 months in full. He's giving us an eviction notice. His voice broke. We don't know what to do. Bethany is a mess. We could lose everything, Mom. I felt a pang of something, not quite pity, but a complicated mix of emotions. A small part of me wanted to race over there, to fix everything for him, like I always had. But another, stronger part remembered the feeling of being treated like staff, of his silence. An eviction notice, Michael? That's serious. What happened to the caterers and all the nice things Bethany always insists on? I asked, my voice calm, but with an edge. He sighed, a heavy, defeated sound. Mom, please don't. We're in trouble. We need money. We need somewhere to go. Can we stay with you? Just for a little while, until we get back on our feet. I closed my eyes for a moment. Stay with me? The thought was almost laughable. Bethany under my roof? After everything? Michael, I said, my voice firm. We need to talk face to face. But not here. And not about staying with me. I paused. Meet me tomorrow, at the coffee shop downtown, the one near the old library, at 10. The next morning I arrived early. I had a plan, a quiet, subtle revenge that had been brewing in my mind for weeks. Michael and Bethany walked in, looking tired and pale. Bethany's usual confident swagger was gone, replaced by a nervous fidgeting. She barely met my eyes. Michael looked utterly defeated. They sat down opposite me, their hands clasped on the table between them. So, what's happening with the apartment? I asked, sipping my tea. Michael explained, his voice low and miserable. We fell behind. Bethany lost her job recently, and my hours got cut. We tried to make it work, but the rent is so high. We just got the final notice. We have a week. And you want to stay with me? I finished for him. Bethany finally spoke, her voice small. Elsie, we have nowhere else to go. We're desperate. She looked at me, her eyes red-rimmed. Please. I looked at them, truly looked at them. The humiliation they had put me through, the dismissal, Michael's silence. And now this, their desperation. It wasn't pity I felt, but a cold satisfaction. You know, I said, I've been thinking a lot since Bethany's birthday. About respect. About family. About how some people treat others. I watched their faces fall, their eyes darting away. I always taught you, Michael, that you treat people how you want to be treated. And Bethany, I looked directly at her, I hope you've learned that lesson too. They both mumbled apologies, half-hearted and quick. We're so sorry, Elsie, Michael said. We really messed up. It's true, Bethany added, her voice barely a whisper. We were wrong. About everything. I took another slow sip of my tea. This wasn't just about an apology, it was about showing them the consequences of their actions. Well, I said, reaching into my large handbag and pulling out a crisp, white envelope. My heart gave a little flutter, but my face remained neutral. It so happens I've been doing some looking around. I heard your landlord was selling the building, actually. I slid the envelope across the table. They both stared at it, then at me, confusion etched on their faces. Bethany slowly picked it up, her fingers trembling slightly as she pulled out the papers inside. Her eyes widened, scanning the official-looking documents. Michael leaned over, peering at them. Their faces went completely slack. They looked at each other, then back at me. Bethany's breath hitched. Michael's jaw dropped. Because there, on the top page, in bold letters, was my name. Elsie Mae Peterson. And the address of their apartment building. It was the new lease, for the entire building. My name was on it. I had bought the building. They looked up at me, their eyes wide, their mouths slightly open. Last week, they smiled nervously seeing me hold the lease papers. It was a silence deeper than any I had ever known. A truly stunned silence. The cafe seemed to fade around us. All the questions, all the accusations, all the apologies evaporated. Only the cold, hard reality of those papers remained. The power had shifted. Completely. And utterly. So, I said, Breaking the silence, my voice calm, almost sweet. We should talk about your new lease terms. I'm sure we can work something out. I gave them a small, polite smile. All arcs closed, all questions answered, the circle complete. It was a hard lesson, but one they desperately needed to learn. This moment, this quiet, powerful revelation, was worth every single slight, every single missed call, every single agonizing moment of waiting. I found my strength, and they found the meaning of consequences. If you've ever had to stand up for yourself and seen it pay off, tell me your story in the comments.